gather round the flickering candlelight and prepare to cross the veil. Each week on the Boocifer Seance, your ghostly guides, Mrs. and Mr. Boo, summon a chilling new tale from the other side. From haunted mansions and cursed forests to restless spirits with unfinished business, this spectral duo dives deep into spine-tingling ghost stories that will haunt your dreams. Whether it's a forgotten legend or a real-life haunting, no story is too eerie for the Boos to conjure. So light a candle, clutch your blanket tight, and dare to join the seance, because once you listen, something might just follow you home. Enter, if you dare.
Hello. Sorry, you're about to get this edited and unedited right here if you're watching live. I am Mrs. Boocifer.
I am Mr. Boocifer. Hello.
You gotta give us some leeway a little bit. This is our very first podcast we're gonna be doing as a lovely couple.
Oh man. So, um, the plan for today, we're going to start off by just kind of giving a intro on each other, on ourselves, explaining kind of where we stand in the paranormal, what we believe, what we don't, just to give you guys kind of a background. And then each week we're going to pick a topic, whether it be spooky, whether it be horror based, some sort of story like that. We're going to try to put that out on our socials, and allow people to watch the full videos on that. We're going to give a brief synopsis before we start our deep dive into it, and just kind of give our opinions. I will say there's going to be things that one of us believes and the other doesn't, and I think that we will kind of bounce off of each other. But I will say we both have some very interesting opinions. Don't you agree?
Yes, yes. I very much so think we have difference of opinions, especially on this one we chose today.
So I'm going to let you go first. Just kind of introduce yourself and where you stand in the world of the paranormal.
All right. Well, I'm Mrs. Boocifer, as you may know. Um, I Huh. This is a tough one because I don't believe in ghosts, but I will say I do believe in aliens. I mean, like, there's other planets, so why would it have stopped on us? I mean, like, come on. Aliens
And
gotta
I
exist, right?
and I married you? Questions?
But yeah, I believe in the aliens. I don't believe in the paranormal, the stuff falling off the cabinets and whatnot, gravity. Okay. What about you, Mr. Boo?
So, again, very different opinions. I am not a firm believer in aliens. I will say that my opinions on the paranormal are um, all pretty skeptical. I don't firmly not believe in any of them. I will say my most believed topics, and this is usually pretty controversial for folks. I am a firm believer in demonic possession, um, exorcisms. I There's something about exorcisms, the Catholic Church. I don't know if it just hits me in the gut real hard or what, but it just strikes me as something that, and if you know much about um, the world of exorcisms and things like that, of course they have been, portrayed in movies, and it's kind of taken it to an extreme. But during the actual time that the Catholic Church did exorcisms, they were required to have it well documented. And it's, to me, anything that can be well documented is going to be a little bit easier to believe. Now, ghost, I've had my fair share of friends and family who say they've seen ghosts. I've never seen a ghost. I've had some pretty close family members have interactions with ghosts, and I trust those folks. I've just never had um, a episode myself. Aliens, 100% just do not believe in aliens. I know that there's possibly something else out there in the universe. I know there's other planets that can support life and all that blah blah. I just have a hard time wrapping my head around aliens. And again, it's probably has everything to do with I've never had that experience. You know, I'm sure there's other people that would call me crazy for saying that. So
You've never been probed. We understand.
I do not plan on being probed. So yeah, so the like I said earlier, the plan, we're just gonna pick a topic. I'm gonna do a brief synopsis about it, and then I think a big important part of this, we pick a topic together, but we watch and research it separately. So we have not sat down and shared any of our thoughts with each other. So we've kind of taken notes and you know, got some questions to ask, some points to bring up, but we have not discussed this with each other before today, other than saying this is the topic for this week. So there might be a few eyebrows raised and fingers pointed, um, but you guys are going to experience that in the moment because this is the first time we've discussed it together. Miss Boo, you want to throw the screenshot up there for me?
Yes, sir. Um,
And I apologize for those of you who won't be seeing the video on this. We're going to put up just a title page called "The Strange Death of Zygmunt Adamski." This is a horror story, ghost story, whatever you want to call it.
aliens.
Unsolved mystery, I guess, is the best category it fits in. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I guess so. I would put it with the alien
For the
abduction.
non-believers, unsolved murder. This comes out of the UK, out of Yorkshire. So I'm going to read. This is from Discovery UK, the Discovery Channel. Um, there was a video put out from the tape library. I want to give those guys a shout out. The tape library on YouTube is awesome. They have a lot of cool I don't want to call them documentaries, but like spooky stories. I mean, he's a great storyteller. I did watch his video on this. It kind of, to me, provided more information than the other things um, that I had heard. I have listened to a few podcasts about it as well, which kind of got me involved in it as, you know, and brought it up as the topic. Specific podcast I want to shout out is Real Life Ghost Stories. I just started watching them. They have over 450 episodes. They
Ooh.
started back in 2017, I want to think. I'm like 10 episodes in, so I'm quite a few years behind. But they did an episode on this as well, which is how I found them. Um, but they are a UK couple, and dude, the charisma between the two of them is hilarious. They just have a really awesome podcast, so I encourage you to go give them a listen and see what they've got going on. But I'm going to give a quick synopsis on our story this week. The Strange Death of Zygmunt Adamski from Discovery UK. It says, in the quiet Pennine Hills of Yorkshire, a story of intrigue and tragedy unfolded in 1980 with the mysterious death of Zygmunt Adamski. Found under circumstances as puzzling as they were unsettling, Adamski's case has sparked a whirlwind of theories, ranging from a tragic accident to an otherworldly encounter, some even linking it to the infamous Todd Morton UFO sighting. So, what really happened to the 56-year-old coal miner? We're searching for answers. Zygmunt Adamski was born in Poland, immigrating to the UK after the Second World War. He settled in Tingley, apologize for the pronunciation, West Yorkshire, working as a coal miner at the Loft House Colliery. In 1951, he married his wife Lottie. On the 6th of June 1980, the 56-year-old left his home to go food shopping. When he didn't return by that evening, Lottie reported him missing, sparking a 5-day search that ended with tragic news. On June 11th, the missing Yorkshire miner's body was found over 20 miles from his home in a coal yard in the town of Todmorden. Inexplicably, his body lay atop a 10-foot-high pile of coal, his face said to have been set in a mask of terror. And the the weird parts about it didn't end there. According to reports, his suit, which he wore without a shirt, was apparently clean despite its sooty surroundings. This led investigators to conclude that he had been placed there rather than climbing up the wall himself. As well as his shirt, Adamski's watch and wallet were missing. None would ever be recovered. There were unusual burns on his head, neck, and shoulders. These appeared to have been treated with a strange ointment that forensic scientists were apparently unable to identify. His hair had been cut roughly. He only had 1 day's beard growth, even though he had been missing for 5 days. There was no sign of a struggle or any other injuries. The coroner ultimately concluded that he had died following a heart attack, but the question of where he was before he died and what led to his death just could not be answered. So, what happened to Zygmunt Adamski, and where had he been for 5 days? There were several theories as to the circumstances of Zygmunt's death. Some suggested it had been caused by a natural phenomenon like ball lightning. Another theory points that Adamski may have suffered an accident or medical emergency, possibly leading to his burns, but failing to account for his disappearance with a strange location of the body. However, the two leading hypotheses revolved around abduction, but were split over the identity of the perpetrators. Some speculate that Adamski may have been taken by individuals or an entity who held him captive before his death. One newspaper pointed to the KGB. However, no ransom was ever demanded, and there was no evidence of enemies or personal disputes that might explain such an event. As for the second Zygmunt abduction theory, this points the finger directly into outer space, claiming that he was abducted by a UFO. So, what led to this conclusion? For that, it's necessary to introduce one of the police officers that worked Adamski's case, Alan Godfrey. Police officer Alan Godfrey was one of the first to respond to the discovery of Adamski's body. Months later, Godfrey became embroiled in a different sort of mystery, the extraterrestrial kind. In November of 1980, while investigating some runaway cows, Godfrey claimed to have seen a hovering, spinning, brightly lit, diamond-shaped craft. He estimated its size at 20 feet wide and 14 feet high. He later underwent hypnosis, which apparently revealed fragmented memories of an apparent alien abduction. This came to be known as the Godfrey or Todd Morton UFO incident. Somehow, Godfrey's account of his experiences to the police force was leaked. From there, the media linked Godfrey to the Adamski case, fueling speculation that would endure for decades. The combination of unexplained injuries, the mysterious ointment, and Godfrey's UFO sighting led some to believe that Zygmunt Adamski was a victim of an alien abduction gone wrong. Thus, the Todd Morton UFO incident became synonymous with the case. To this day, the death of Zygmunt Adamski remains steeped in mystery. Whether he fell victim to foul play, tragic misfortune, or an extraordinary encounter, his story continues to captivate those drawn to unexplained mysteries. The case has cemented Todd Morton's place on the map for ufology enthusiasts alongside other hotspots like Rendlesham Forest and Roswell. And that's it. That's the brief version. The tape library, like I said, they did like a 50-minute story on this thing, man. And I feel like the more you look around, the more detail you get. There's a lot of detail in that's missing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
So,
thoughts?
oh, I have plenty. So,
Of course you do.
of course I do. Who would I be?
Well,
with
I'll be
that?
the gentleman and let you go first.
All right. Well, with them finding Zygmunt's body, they do say that he had on the back of his neck, he had circle burns that were also clean and treated. So if he was like kidnapped, why would they treat the injuries that they are causing? But also when they found him, his hair was cut. He had at least a day old beard. So there's just a lot on the body itself that brings up questions.
I agree.
So like he was missing a shirt but still had his suit jacket. He had no wallet, no watch. His pants were fastened straightly, or strangely, not straightly. They were fastened strangely, so he was probably probed. Um,
Always with the probing.
always with the probe. The fascinating. Weirdly, I mean, uh, his shoes and socks were put on. Like, I mean, come on, like, come on. On the burns itself, coroner, the coroner couldn't explain the green goo that was on it. Where else? I mean, it's not aloe. He would know if it was aloe. So I mean, what else could it be? And the look on his face, they couldn't forget it. They said he looked frightened to death. I don't think if it was the KGB, I don't think I'd be frightened to death.
Hey, I'm frightened of the KGB, bro.
I mean, and not only so I don't think if he underwent, like, another theory was that he underwent a medical procedure, but I don't think he would have missed, because what's also missing is that he had to go to his goddaughter's wedding the next day after he went out to go, mind you, get potatoes for his wife. I don't think he would have not come back with the potatoes, because it is accounted that he did show up. He did purchase the said items. He did purchase the said items, but then went missing. And the body, like, he himself appeared clean and well fed. Who is gonna clean? The KGB is not gonna clean you. They're not even gonna feed you. So there's that throws that right out. What other theories did they give you? Let's see. Sorry, I wrote my notes down. So they listed like a couple theories, and the one that's just like out of it is government operation. Do we really think this dude was a spy? I mean, look
Why
at him,
not?
guys.
Spies getting potatoes? That doesn't sound too
Like, what?
crazy.
I, I, I don't know. I'm not seeing spy. I'm just not. They also thought maybe he died of natural causes. But if he died of natural causes, who cleaned his wounds? Who dressed him? Who put him on a 10-foot pile of coal? Because it was not easy for the cops to get up there. And then, let alone Alan's, right? Alan? Yeah, let alone Godfrey's incident. The phone call that the operator.
We'll get there in a second. We'll get
We'll
there.
get there.
Let's deal with how
Okay.
he, because I'm not convinced yet.
You know.
I'm not convinced that some big blue headed thing came and picked him up off the side of the road, took his clothes off, poked him with something, and dropped him on a coal pile. I got questions there. I mean, I'm gonna give you a few. I'm gonna give you a couple. I agree that. I mean, if you've ever been around coal, I mean, I'm not a miner by any means, but I have definitely been. I mean, just think about charcoal for your grill, right? You can't touch it without getting it everywhere.
And this
He
man
put
was clean.
right. He was clean. There was not. I mean, his suit was clean, and he was laying in the coal.
He had a fresh haircut.
Right. Fresh haircut. The beard growth. Now, the beard growth, to me, could be. I don't know. They say it was cut. Did his wife say it was cut? Nobody ever really says that. Nobody. That's the one thing that kind of got me on the description of his hair and stuff. Was it was always the police said it looked like he had a haircut. I never said Lottie said, "Oh my gosh, my husband's hair's been cut," or "Oh my gosh, who cut his beard off?" You know, it was the police said he looked like he had a fresh haircut. He looked like he only had a day's, worth of beard growth. I mean, to me, a day's worth of beard, you can't tell what my beard doesn't change over a day. You know what I mean?
I mean,
So
some people get that like 5 o'clock shadow going.
yeah, I mean, from looking at his pictures, he looks like a pretty clean shaven man. So I can see that where, but you don't know how quick the man grows a beard or doesn't grow a beard or whatever, you know.
That's true.
Um,
That's true.
but I mean, the it you've got to also look at the time frame. So we're 1980. or post-war, there's a lot of fear that's going on in this country. And I feel like, especially in that part of the world, yeah, Nazi Germany, I mean, the effect that Nazi Germany had on that side of the world was tremendous. I could only imagine if, that happened in our country, it probably would, we'd still have those lasting effects, and we do, but not, I feel like not as severe as the Western world does, because a lot of that, especially during the 1980s, where they're still recovering from that traumatic experience of that, the Nazis taking over and doing the nasty things they did. But I feel like there might be a little bit of push for it to be somebody who's not here, someone who's not, they don't want this murderous thing. And they, what was it, the Yorkshire Ripper? The Yorkshire Ripper was going on during this time frame too, so there was mass murders going on. Um, I don't personally think that the Yorkshire Ripper was responsible for this case. It doesn't fit in with that. I kind of watched a little bit of background on that to see if there was any kind of pull that way. There was, to me, there wasn't. Um, but I agree. The green substance. We're also talking about 1980 here, so I feel like between 1980 and 2025, we found things that they didn't have in 1980. Do you agree with that?
I agree. I agree.
Yeah. So I mean, you've got to think about the time frame. You've got to think about the part of the country or the part of the world that we're in. And I mean, a coroner in a mining town in the middle of nowhere goes, "Hey, I don't know what this is." Well, just because you don't know what it is, don't mean it don't exist.
That's true.
So, um, but and I also you know feel a little uncomfortable because I do know from my experience that coroners love to call things heart attacks, natural causes, and I feel like they use that scapegoat in this story. The coroner was very, and for, speaking in 2025 terms, as a government official, if you will, or someone whose responsibility is it to tell the families and law enforcement how someone died, and how open the coroner was in stating, I don't know, but I've got to say something, is essentially how I took it from the coroner's report. Was, I don't know, but this is what I'm gonna say. So this story, we've kind of talked about the abduction and him being gone. There was also another
Abduct.
theory that he. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, abduct. You said the word abduction. I just want to make sure.
Abduction. I mean, abduction can be done by anybody. I didn't say he was airlifted somewhere. So another theory I read was, or heard actually in the tape diaries, was that along the lines of the theories kind of mix between the wedding, the family members being in town from Poland, and
Yep.
him being involved with the KGB, that some of the family that came from Poland was trying to either convince him to, betray his country, or he had,
I heard
or
that too.
right. And they came over, they caught him on, they would have been in town for the wedding. Like you said, the wedding was a few days away. They would have been staying nearby. And a theory, not saying I'm going with that theory, but a theory is that these gentlemen that were there for the wedding from Poland may have kidnapped him, tried to convince him to do whatever they were trying to convince him of, and he suffered a heart attack during the interrogation, and they dumped him. Now, again, does not account for the wounds. He didn't have any defensive wounds on his body like he got in a fight. Just the shoulders and the neck and the ointment that was on there, and landing on a 15-foot tall coal pile without a piece of dirt on it. I agree. It doesn't account for any of that. But it's a theory. So now let's venture into what really ties this into the extraterrestrial side, which is Alan Godfrey's part, which was a brief 5 months later. He has an experience, and I'm going to let you kind of dive into this a little bit.
So it all started with he 5 months later he gets a phone call. They get several phone calls about this herd of cows, and the first time he goes,
I just pause you for a minute.
yeah,
Why is it when there's alien involved, is it always cows? Why is it always cows? You know where I'm going with this. Even in freaking Jimmy Neutron, what gets abducted in the movie by the aliens? The freaking cows. Why is it always cows when it comes to aliens? Anyway, keep
cows are
going.
connected. If I see a cow in the road, I'm going the other way. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I'm not traveling. I'm not. You want to say, can we go to a dairy farm? I'm good. Dairy farmers are what's going to be kidnapped by the aliens. You know, that's all I'm saying. But 5 months later, November 28th, 1980, he has a shift. He goes out. He gets several calls. Yeah, several calls about the cows. He gets there, they're not there. So he's like, you know what? I'm done. I'm not going back out there for some cows. But then they get a weird phone call from an older lady that she's on the phone with them, and they ask her where are the cows. She says they're not there. I'm sorry, they disappeared. And he goes, well, where?
And she said they ask
Yeah.
her. She says they're in the yard, and he says,
Mhm.
"Well, are they still there?" And she goes to look out, flash a light, cows are gone.
Yeah.
He says, "Where'd the cows go and which way?" And her response is, "Up."
Yep, up. So
Anyway, keep going.
so he gets that phone call. He goes out. It's 5 a.m. It's raining. This is an important detail. It's raining. It's raining. Okay.
Hour before the end of his shift,
Yeah.
he's tired.
Okay. Nope.
Important Teague is in there.
But it's raining. So he drives down this empty road there, and then he sees a light ahead. Okay. So typically, if I'm driving and I see a light ahead, I'm not gonna turn around because it could be a car. But then his radio stops working. And not just his personal radio, the car radio, because he said frequently in that town and around that area, his personal radio is known to not work. Right? Okay,
Too far out of town.
that makes sense. But then the car radio, the car like, yes, okay, that's getting to something's disturbing the frequency. But then he sees a diamond shaped something spinning. Thornton, diamond shaped something. I don't want to say UFO because
I mean, it's still an unidentified flying object. I'll give you that. It's not a spaceship, I don't think, but
but
I'll go along with UFO.
but he says it's spinning, mind you, and or yeah, I believe the word is anti clockwise.
Counterclockwise.
Counterclockwise. I don't know why I said anti.
Anti-clockwise. You're not allowed to go that way. We're anti-clockwise here.
But it's spinning 14 feet off the ground, spinning anti-clockwise. Oh my god, counterclockwise. And the last thing he remembers is he lost time and memory. What feels to him like 5 minutes was actually 30 minutes. He missed a whole 30 minutes. And all he had from that experience was the drawing that he doesn't remember drawing of the UFO. And in that spot, he goes back and checks the spot. There's a giant 20-foot in diameter spot on the ground that's bone dry, and it's raining. Bone dry and it's raining. So he doesn't want to be judged by his friends. I understand that. He doesn't want people. He tells his supervisor what he experienced. They think he's crazy. They tell him not to tell anyone because they don't want to rile anybody up. But then he eventually goes down and goes under hypnosis. While he's in hypnosis.
This is months later now.
Yes, this is months later. He goes under hypnosis. And they put him under, he's sleeping. All of a sudden he starts screaming. about the light, and he's terrified. And then the next thing he remembers, he's inside and saw a room with white, brilliant walls lit from nowhere. It says that he met what he called a humanoid. I'm gonna say alien, because homie, you just met an alien, and called himself Yusef. I mean, I don't know what alien's gonna call himself Yusef, but you met an alien named Yusef. And he describes this humanoid to be tall, bearded, long, and wearing a long robe with a skull cap. All right, kind of sus. I mean, I don't know who's walking around with a big robe and a skull cap, and like, all right. And next to that man, he's also seeing small creatures with large black eyes and light bulb shaped heads. I mean, I don't know if this is.
I think they were described as robots.
He did describe them as robots, but I don't.
Aliens and robots now, folks. Aliens and robots. They're tag teaming. Watch out.
I mean, if you ever seen Invader Zim, aliens and robots go neck and neck.
That's exactly where my thought train went, was to Invader Zim.
They go neck and neck. I mean, every alien has to have his pet robot. I mean, it makes sense. But then it gets weirder. It starts to really, the story starts to get a little crazy. They then, mind you, he's saying all this while asleep. He's not awake. This is his subconscious remembering what happened.
Supposedly.
Supposedly. Oh, sorry. Let me make sure I said supposedly. They laid him on a table. And I'm just gonna say they did things to him because he doesn't really specify what they did to him. Okay, just know that they laid him on the table. I think he got broke. I mean, just they're not laying you on the table to see what instrument you got. I'm sorry.
What insurance you got?
But the last thing he remembers out of that whole experience is seeing a large black dog. I don't know what the significance of that was. If maybe they went to the neighbor's house and abducted the dog because they thought it was a cow. I don't know. No, it's a large black dog. But yeah. After that, after that he quit his job because he was being nobody believed him.
Harassed.
Yeah, he was harassed. He was laughing stock. Nobody believed what he saw. And everyone said that the two incidents were not connected. But they're so similar. I mean, they're unexplained. What other way can you explain it?
Oh, I got some ways. Don't you worry. Well, yeah. So, I mean, the poor guy, truth or not, he was very clear that he went to his supervisors. He did it through the proper channels. Um, and the news interviews, one of the intriguing parts, the department actually gave him permission, almost encouraged him at the beginning to engage with these interviews, which is very, not the normal script when it comes to government officials or police officers or law enforcement officers being, having or reporting extraterrestrial experience. Normally they want to keep that close to the chest. Then weird things started happening where he was being contacted by doctors and folks from across, that area of the world. And I think it was a KGB officer or someone of the like came by the station, um, this was before he resigned, and he had a file on him with his drawing in it, and he pretty much, like, he followed him around town, was trying to intimidate him, which is very contradictory to what the department was doing, which was trying to encourage him to engage. But once that gentleman came around, it was over then. But it was too late. I mean, once the press got a hold of it, ghost hunters and all of this stuff that, you look at nowadays was around back then. And people were ufologists or UFOologists, however you say it. They were trying to reach out to them and get their 2 cents off of it. But there's a couple other things from that night. He had a partner too that responded. The partner corroborated the dry ground story, part of the story, where I think he reported. Let me get my notes right here. 20 feet wide, 14 feet high, and when they roughly measured the ground spot, it was 20 feet wide on the ground. There's also a big part, again, that I kind of find hilarious but unexplainable. When the partner came to corroborate the story, because he was like, I'm going crazy. There's no way this happened. Let me call him out here. They see the dry spot, and there was a nearby park. So the two officers venture into the locked gate park, has a fence all the way around it, locked gate. They had to jump the fence. They get to the center of the park, and in a dry area, middle of a rainstorm, dry area in the middle of the park, are all of the frickin' cows. All of the frickin' cows that are missing in town are in the park with the gate locked and the fence up and the ground dry. And that's when the partner, I think, kind of came around and was like, okay, something's crazy's going on here. I took it, like you said, took it back, made an official report. Report gets leaked, and all hell breaks loose. I I have to say something. And this is my one of my big things. Usually, when you deal with extraterrestrial alien encounter, I've always found that it's always organized. That's the right word. You know, they usually, I'm gonna say it, they usually pick on the people that are not going to be believed in the media. They find, you've always heard, they find the trailer park on the outside of town, or they find a town that, and again, this town was not was very remote. It was out there, so it was a typical target in that manner. But I feel like the people that they chose or the way they went about choosing it was very sloppy for aliens, if that makes sense. Um, if he was abducted, and I'm talking about Mr. Adamski, if he was abducted, the coroner said his body was only dead for a few hours prior to the officers finding him. So I'm imagining a 1980 Chevrolet pickup truck flying through space, and they got this dude in the back, and the experiment goes wrong, and they just throw him out the side, and he lands on a coal pile. Because that's how it feels to me. Like, this is so unorganized. The experiment failed, and they just threw him out and left him there. Like, that's not usual for an alien story for me. I think that that the second story by Alan Godfrey, 5 months later, was more believable. That's a typical alien encounter. Bright lights, diamond shaped spaceship flying, very specific about the motion of all of that fit in. Cows, of course. Here we are with the cows again. That all fit into what I was expecting to hear from a alien extraterrestrial story. The first part of the story, there's still, even if you choose alien abduction as your explanation, I feel like there's still more. Why did they just toss him out? He wasn't probed in the usual manner that we would think, or that folklore would tell us. So he had this new, to me, in the alien world, storytelling world, he had a newer mark on his neck, like something may have been attached, and then it was unattached, and ointment. Why did they try to treat him if they were just going to throw him out? He's dead. They obviously, the usual story is that aliens are they're more, intelligent than us. So they would have known he was dead. So why even treat it? Was he alive when they treated it? But the coroner said he was alive a few hours before they found him, so maybe it went wrong. They tried to treat it, and then he actually had a heart attack during the abduction, and the aliens didn't know CPR, I guess, you know. So, but I feel like that I'm more inclined to believe Alan Godfrey's interaction with an extraterrestrial source than I am to believe that Zygmunt Adamski was abducted and killed by aliens. Um, I feel like now there is another part of the Alan Godfrey story that's very important, and that I don't know if you read about the tiny home thing that was in town, in the center of town, right next to the police station. I forget what that was called. Let me see if I can pull it up.
Yeah, they said like he
Um,
walked by it every day, so maybe that's why he mistaken the diamond or
yeah, it was like
yeah.
let me see if I can pull it up here. Probably not gonna. So this is the picture that they say he drew. Um, but there was a home in town. It's not going to show me the picture right now. And for those of you that can't see it, um, almost identically to what this um, picture here looks like. There was like what we would call today a tiny home, and it was like something of the future. And they had it put in town, and it had windows around it in a circle. Because that was one of the specific things that he remembered was there was black glass like material around the middle of the ship or whatever object, and that he couldn't tell if it was a window because he couldn't see in and he didn't see anything shining out. This object had the same, windows here, but it was displayed in town. So all of the professionals said that there was no way that he could have confused it. Now, again, we're talking about a rainy night. It's dark. He's tired. He's scared. I mean, the dude's probably still been traumatized from the first, time finding the body. I mean, he's a cop, but how often do you find some dude on top of a 15-foot coal pile in the corner? Don't know how he died, So I'm sure that was still in the back of his mind. I'm not saying that's what he saw. He was very specific about the rotation of the object. But that's just an important topic to keep in there because that could be a possible explanation of what he saw. Um, but I feel like, to be honest with you, I don't know what I think. I'm more inclined to believe Alan Godfrey's side of the story, than I am to believe that the first half was alien abduction. Again, I don't have an explanation otherwise. Um, but I feel like that the second half is a typical alien encounter. The one thing that does intrigue me, that I'd like to research more down the road. Um, I've come to understand that a lot of times, and I didn't know this, with alien abduction, there's the lost time factor, like you were talking about,
Mhm.
where he felt like he had only been gone or he was still traveling. He was on the
Yes.
road when this
He's still
happened. He was
driving.
driving the car, and he on the other side of the interaction felt like 2 minutes ago he was on the other side, but it was a half an hour. And when he came out of it, the car was still moving. He says the car was still traveling. So for 30 minutes, where'd the car go? He was only, 100 feet down the road, so he couldn't have been traveling at speed for 30 minutes and ended up in the same spot. So no explanation for that. I find that very intriguing that, the lost time is incorporated in that and how that plays into it. Now, they did say, his hypnosis, um, I guess during the investigation and all the news and ghost hunters reaching out to him, that he did a lot of research on his own. He wasn't looking for fame. He never took
Mm-mm.
any stories. I think he did one interview, and that was at recommendation of his like captain or whatever they call it. And he never looked for money out of it. He never looked for any of that kind of thing. But he did do a lot of research to try to help explain what he went through, and they believe that because hypnosis brings up supposedly brings up all the stuff that you got going on inside. So any memory, any knowledge could have manifested in that hypnosis. So they believe that possibly it could have been an explanation, could have been that it came from one of the other stories that he had researched, one of the other happenings in the area. Hey, I'm just being the opposing party here and giving the realist side of it. But again, I feel like that neither. I would even venture to say that the extraterrestrial side has more evidence than the non. I mean, you've got a government coroner saying I don't know how the hell he died, which is very odd. You've got a cooperative parties. You've got the other patrolmen that saw some of the same facts. So you're not just talking about one person on the second half. There's just a lot to be left open in this story, and I think to this day it's still unsolved. They don't know how he died or anything like that. So there's nothing in 45 years that's come out of that. So I would weigh my opinion is that it wasn't something earthly. Again, I'm a
Ooh.
huge skeptic when it comes to aliens, but I just feel like something else may have happened to him, and I don't think that anybody will ever know. But I mean, I know what your opinion is going to be, but I just want to say that I don't think it was something earthly. I can't say that it was extraterrestrial 100%, but it was definitely something odd.
I might surprise you. Okay.
Uh
So what I'm saying, okay? Don't say I'm backpedaling, nothing like that.
oh.
The first death,
hmm
I would say, is leaning a little bit towards I would say the KGB, because we're forgetting that. So a minister from Russia, mind you, called Alan and told him to stop asking questions.
Yep.
They warned him from Russia, where I guess where the KGB is from. I mean, KGB, if you're watching this, I know nothing. Okay,
I know
I know
nothing.
nothing.
All right, Schultz.
So, if Zygmunt wasn't a possible Russian spy, maybe. So maybe not KGB, but possible spy for the other side. One of them.
Well, remember, they could have been convincing him to become a spy.
Yep.
That's a theory too.
Yep. That's a theory. But if not, why would they? Why would they warn Alan to stop digging? Right. But then there's like another entry where it deals with the other theory of the the family of his wife's family.
The niece,
Yeah.
right?
Her brothers, the wife's brothers. It said that they might have taken him because they've been trying to convince him to move to Portland. Not Portland. Oh, don't move to Portland. No offense to anyone who lives in Portland.
Wrong country.
I mean Poland.
There we go.
They were convincing him to go there, but he just didn't want to. He did not want to. But then there was a phone call, or a woman called about the wife's family. She said herself that she saw the brothers take him, and that she saw that Zygmunt had a heart attack.
Right.
But when the police tried to get in touch with her again and tried to call her back and get some more information, she disappeared. She couldn't be found.
Yeah, they could never corroborate that story.
Yep.
I remember that.
So then
They
theory.
believe that it possibly wasn't even her.
Yep. So that theory just got tossed.
Yeah.
It got tossed to the side. So with that, I think a little bit towards the KGB for Zygmunt.
Mhm.
But when it comes to Alan, I mean, there's just too much that he went through to not think aliens.
So can we agree that we're leaning towards two separate incidents?
Yes, I don't
He
think.
just happened to be an unfortunate soul tied to both.
Yes, I don't think the two are connected.
Right. which is contrary to the popular belief over there. Is and I mean, naturally, what are people
Yeah.
going to think? Oh my God, unidentified substances. He was landed. He was floated down on, dumped out of the 1998 Chevy out of the back, flying through space over here, and then 5 months later we've got aliens.
Yeah.
It's natural, but I'm with you on the page that whatever happened, I feel like it's two separate incidences.
And when you think spies, you think of they had the high tech gear, the high tech technology. He could have been thrown out of James Bond's aircraft to the top of the coal.
Yeah.
You don't know what the KGB had back then. We don't know much about the KGB besides they got 3 letters in their name, KGB. Okay, cool. We got it. But we don't know. Zygmunt is just too much towards the KGB, and I would believe Alan was a. I would place my lotto ticket on Alan was abducted, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Was Zygmunt abducted? I don't believe so. Um, I mean, why? I mean, the KGB could have been trying to get information out of him. That's why he survived for 5 days.
Yeah.
And maybe the information they got out of him was enough to scare him.
I think he had a heart attack. Whatever
Yeah.
interrogation he was through, the family, the KGB, whoever. I think he genuinely had a heart attack.
Because, I mean, I've never seen a body after it's had a heart attack. But my guess is your face doesn't look like it did when you were asleep.
Right.
Like it would.
I mean,
kind of
that's
looks,
very,
yeah.
I never thought about it that way. That's a good point. If he had a heart attack and he, normally when you have a heart attack, it's not an instant death.
Yeah.
You're in pain, your heart's stopping. That face couldn't have been necessarily shock and fear of something, but in fear of him dying.
Yeah.
And that's where his face froze and that's where it stayed,
Yeah. So I think this is a good story of the KGB and an alien abduction.
Right.
Because I would believe Alan got abducted. And I don't know where you stand on it.
I think we can come to an agreement on that.
Okay.
Alrighty, well, that wraps up our explanation of the mysterious death of Zigmund Adamski. The next next episode will come out next Friday. We're going to try to do an episode a week. We would like to get some viewer submissions. We are on Facebook, the Boocifer Seance. We are on X. We are on. We have an email, the boociferseance@gmail.com. What else are we on?
We have a Patreon.
Yep.
We're not really on
YouTube.
Yeah,
on YouTube
on
as
YouTube.
well, the Boocifer Seance. Best way to reach out to us if you have a user submission is probably Facebook or the email. Everything you can find us at the Boocifer Seance. But we would like to take some user submissions and try to get in some of your stories during the month. We want to start off doing one story a month that you guys submit to us, and we're gonna, like I said, we research it separately, and we come to here and we have a very interested debate. I know that there's going to be some topics where we're more on the same page than this one. I felt like this one was a good way to kick it off, let alone on Friday the 13th.
Ooh.
So, but yeah, we share a lot of interesting things. Like I said at the beginning, I weigh heavy into the world of exorcisms and demonic possession. I for some reason that stuff just sticks with me. So maybe we'll have some of those episodes coming up. But yeah, that's all I got.
And I hope you guys enjoyed this very first podcast. And I hope to see you guys for many more. And, as always, stay spooky.
Stay spooky.